Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Upasana from Thai, and we are in the process of all of you joining. So we'll give it a minute for everybody to be able to join, and then we shall start. So hi, good morning, everyone. And once again, I'm Upasana from Thai. Warm welcome on this early winter morning to today's session in the series that's called Learn with Simpl. And today we'll be talking about effective D2C branding. This is our fourth session in the series that we're running with Simpl, which is called Learn with Simpl. That's going to be talking all about the D2C brands and I remember we began with the ABC of D2C. We spoke about team building. We spoke about insourcing and outsourcing. And now today we're talking about brand building, which is one of the key aspects of building a D2C brand. So before we go forward, I would like to just take a minute to talk about upcoming activities at Thai. And the most important thing that I'm very happy to announce today is that we are hosting our flagship event, ThaiCon Delhi, on 17th and 18th March. This is going to be a physical event at the Leela Ambience in Gurugram. We look forward to having all of you there. Just a small announcement, which I was really happy to make. This is the first announcement of ThaiCon that we've made on any of our events. I will not take much time. I think we've lost about 5 minutes, but that's not a problem. Thank you all for joining us. I would like to just very briefly introduce our speakers today. For the effective D2C brand building, we have with us Rashi Narang. Rashi is the co-founder of Heads Up for Tails. We have Jatan Bawa, co-founder Perfora, and we have Aditya, co-founder at Assembly Travel. Very exciting, very different brands and very different products. And of course, we have moderating with us today, Nitya Sharma, who's the founder of Simpl. So I won't take much time. Over to Nitya. Nitya, please take it away.
Upasana, thank you. Thank you for that quick setup. And Rashi, Jatan, and Aditya, great to connect and look forward to this conversation. I think, we'll be talking today about brand building for D2C brands. One of the interesting things about D2C brands is that we are all trying to break through the clutter to get to the customer and convey a unique value proposition that oftentimes is either category creating, meaning something like this doesn't even exist in the organized market, or there is an incumbent who may not be doing a great job, right? And how we do that becomes a very important catalyst for growth. So we'll all cover a bunch of things, tactics, philosophy, around how to build brands. But before that, it'll be awesome to just quickly go through all our panelists' backgrounds, just like, it'll be very, very interesting for this thing. How did you start? What is your aha moment? Like, why did you start what you started? And then just like, how do you position your brand? Like, what are you in the eyes of the customer vis-a-vis so many other alternatives there are? So that'll be a good way to start. Rashi, let's start with you. I'm personally a big user of Heads Up for Tail for my pet. So, but it'll be awesome to see how you see it.
Thank you so much, Nitya. Thank you for having me here. And Upasana, thank you to you too. Always happy to be back at Thai for anything at all. Just as a quick introduction, I am Rashi and I started out Heads Up for Tails back in 2008, actually, inspired by my dog, Sarah. And we basically create and curate, innovative products and services to add joy to pets and their families. And I couldn't find, good quality products for Sarah. And that's what the inspiration for me was. And we've grown. I started out as a tiny homegrown business and we've come a long way now. We have both stores as well as online. We're at about 70 stores and, we service many thousand customers every month. So yes, that's just a quick introduction.
Awesome. And Rashi, what would be helpful is, when you you have both online channels and probably marketplace channels and offline channels, can you just give us a quick background on what is the breakup that looks like today?
Sure. So we sell more through our offline channels. So 60% of our revenue comes from offline and 40% comes from our website and marketplaces. So
Awesome.
that's how we're trying to build it. I know it's the age of digital, and digital is so very powerful. But for us, when we were creating out the category, and there was no one searching for the kind of products that we're making, we believed that offline was necessary for people to come in and really experience what we were building, which is why we've done the whole omni-channel route.
Got it. Awesome. Jatin, let's hear your story.
Sure. Thank you, Nitya, Upasna, and everyone at TIE for inviting me into this conversation. Really looking forward to learn and share a few learnings that we've had while building Perfora. So I and a friend of mine, Tushar, we started our business late last year in August. The aha moment for us was that we've been very active new age consumers from all the brands that have come and disrupted different categories, whether it was our coffee, whether it was our breakfast cereal, whether it was our skincare, hair care, lifestyle products. And we realized that oral care is something that we do day in and day out. It's a very monotonous, boring kind of chore that we haven't paid attention to. Why is somebody not talking about better oral care, more purpose-driven brand in this category, products which are more efficacious, products which contain more cleaner ingredients? There's joy in brushing, right? So like Rashi talked about, creating joy in the lives of pets and pet parents, we're trying to do a similar thing with oral care. So that's how we started out. I think there was massive brand fatigue when we spoke to our target consumers. What kind of brands do they consume? Are they excited about it? Do they pay any kind of attention when it comes to their oral care products? And they felt, it's all the brands are one and the same, similar red, white, blue color packaging, no ingredient differentiation, similar kind of TVCs. So that excitement and that awareness was missing, and we felt here's an opportunity to sort of impact millions of consumers with great oral hygiene products, and in process make Indian consumers more aware about their dental hygiene, right? So that's how we started out. So it's been about we're a very, very young brand. So it's been about 16 odd months since we started out. There are tons of learnings that we've had in place and lots of failures that we have experienced, but there are a few small wins that we've also had, and hopefully we'll continue to create something unique and interesting as we move forward.
That's awesome, Jatin. And Aditya, what's your story here?
Yeah, no, sure. So thanks for having me. With Assembly, we started about 2.5 years back. It was me and my co-founder Mohit. We were kind of connected to the luggage category in our previous avatars, and I think what we observed is a couple of core theses that kind of formed when we, which we kind of jammed on. One is that when you look at travel, and when people are traveling very infrequently, I think the luggage that you carry does not matter much to you because it's just a commodity that you use from A to B, and you're not very discerning about the design and how it helps you travel better. But when you start becoming a frequent traveler, which is something that is there's so many use cases of travel that have kind of come up over the last 8-10 years. That's when you become more discerning of it, and you're willing to experiment with products that are innovative from a functional design perspective, from an aesthetic design perspective. So that was one of the theses which both me and Mohit felt strongly about, and that we wanted to test out. And I think the second is that if you look at this category, traditionally it has been oligopolistic, where there have been 3-4 large players that have dominated the organized portion of it. And we felt that the new age consumer is not necessarily thinking of these brands when they think of travel and aspiration. When they're going for trips, is that something that they feel is very strongly connecting to them? So we felt that there was something missing there, and we wanted to build out something which gives a choice to today's new age consumer. So that's the backdrop. So we started about 2.5 years back. And of course, COVID happened then, so we had to kind of just lock in and get through that phase. But I mean, this year's been great, and we've been growing well. So excited about the foreseeable future.
Awesome. And Aditya, just to put context, how do you think about your direct online channel, marketplace online channel, and physical. What is your split today?
So digital is super, at the core of it. We are about, I would say, 90% digital. And the other 10% is probably something which, is goodwill we get through corporate orders, where people are discovering us through digital. We see a lot of depth in digital. So I think until we're at a pretty high run rate, I think we're very focused on being good at this particular channel. Very even split between web store and marketplaces. I'd say even. Again, it's a category that's not very deeply penetrated. There is scarcity of supply, so we feel that both web store and marketplaces are running in tandem. Web store, of course, helps us build a brand, get data, and marketplaces, of course, have fantastic reach. So we jam on both very evenly.
Got it. Makes sense. And Jatin, what's that split for you?
So primarily, Nitya, we're a digital first business. 97% of our business is about online. 55% of our business is direct to consumer via our own website, followed by other channels like, Amazon, Nykaa, Blinkit, Zeptos of the world. We will be foraying into the offline world, but again, I've done this before, so I understand offline is a very expensive channel. You can't A/B test a lot of things if you don't have your own EPOs. So we are going to do small, very controlled pilot in NCR to start with, and probably build it from there on.
Got it. Awesome. Perfect. The reason I was asking the split is, as we think about brand and brand building and communicating to the customer, these all channels have their own both advantages and sort of like setbacks. And it's interesting that we have a slightly mixed panel there. So we learn tactics that work everywhere. So Rashi, let's start again with you. I think Rashi and Jatan, both your categories from brand building and of course a product building point of view requires a lot of trust with the customer, right? Pets are like kids, your mouth is your mouth. So you are very sensitive about what goes in. And obviously it applies for everything, including luggage or clothes people wear, but maybe to a slightly lesser extent because you're not injecting something in your mouth or feeding to your pet or kids. So Rashi, as you sort of like, I guess one macro trend that is happening in your categories is Indians are in droves becoming pet parents. And not only becoming pet parents, really taking care of pets just like they would take care of, family, right? Can you just walk us through a little bit that trend? Like, what are you seeing? Any numbers? And then help us think through how do you sort of position your brand to build trust with the customer around, whatever is valuable to the customer?
Sure, Nitya. So very interesting question, actually. We've been doing this for a while now. And when I started out, dogs were mostly tied up on the gates with guards, and they were basically, brought into homes for security purposes. And in these 15 years, I have seen the most amazing transition of them coming into our homes and now into our beds and really becoming, the children of the family. For us as a brand, we have believed pets are family way before it even became a trend, so that's really our positioning, that it came from a space of deep love, from a space of passion, a space of really wanting to make a difference and wanting to improve the lives of these animals, by creating products that were healthier, more comfortable, just to make them happier overall. And it also came with that intention of massively wanting to build the pet owners into pet parents through a lot of education and awareness. So it's taken us a very long time to do that because our market didn't really exist, and we've had to really build that customer up one person at a time, one home at a time. And so I think for us, the whole trust piece has come through a lot of expertise in communicating that through our content. It's come by building a lot of products that customers didn't even know that they wanted through design thinking conversations. So for example, I may ask you, about your relationship with your dog or cat, or what are the challenges you may be facing, or what do you do together. And in that, I may pick up that, okay, say maybe your dog is growing older, he's struggling with XYZ issues. So we went back and, got lots of expertise and built out senior dog products or different things that did not even exist in the market. So I think it's, just our positioning is really expertise led. It is about innovation, combining science plus, strong design and also a lot of heart. So we lead with a lot of empathy, and our purpose really stands at the forefront of all our decisions. And really, we live our vision every day, which is for every home to experience the joy of raising pets as family, because I know for sure that animals have the power to change us, and they make us better versions of ourselves. And I really do believe that through this vision, we can make the world a better place. So I think it is about just being honest, about being true, about being authentic, and just going back to vision, mission, purpose every day, and also laying it out very clearly for yourself. And really, like, that trust, it has to start from day one. I mean, just like brand building, it starts from day zero. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a perspective.
Interesting. And just tactically, Rashi, I completely agree that content is a great way to build a brand and build trust and provide more value of your product to the customer. In the online world, completely very online focused sort of channels, I guess there is natural like touch points with the customer to provide that content. How do you tactically solve for this content distribution vis-a-vis offline? And can you give us any thoughts as what works, what does not work for a brand?
Sure. So we were lucky that we actually got into the offline space because no one wanted to keep our products. And so we said, okay, we're going to build our own. So, that rejection at that time turned out to be good in the long run, even though it was very difficult at that time. But I think because we have our own store network, we were able to do lots of events, things like, okay, new puppy training, to how do you groom your dog, to how do you train them for XYZ things, and behavior and nutrition and so many things. So we did a lot of events at stores. I think in today's world, there is a lot of, even though you may be doing a lot of content online, the distribution online, it does impact the number of people who are coming into your stores, even offline, to say, okay, listen, I know you launched this new product. I wanted to come and see it in person before I buy it. So I think just in terms of tactics, it's just been really, we didn't really have one. Like, maybe it's not the right thing to say because you should have a strategy. But I think really when we started out, and even till now, we don't really have a strategy per se. All we're doing is sharing what we are, we're just documenting and sharing what is actually going on. What is it that we're actually learning? What is it that we're creating? What do we really want people to know with all that we're learning, from across our research and our development? And I think it just comes down to being transparent and honest and really communicating that vision to your people. So for example, at our stores, even if it's about our purpose-led vision of making a larger difference, we have communication about our foundation, we have merchandise that you can buy for street dogs, we have things like donation drives. So I think that offline we've just used all of what we believe in and try to incorporate all of that into the experience that the customer actually has when they walk in, training our people to really be advisors more than salespeople, so I think all of those things, they help in just building that trust and with the communication as well.
Awesome. Jatin, I think your category is obviously very different from pets, but something that somebody will be putting in their mouth, and Colgate obviously comes to mind, right? Just walk us through how are you solving the positioning problem, trust problem that makes someone say, I want your brand before Colgate or Sensodyne or something?
Sure. I think a very relevant point, Nitya, that you've touched upon, because over the last 16 months of our journey, we've spent considerable time thinking about how do we solve for trust, right? Because we operate in such a category where Colgate is probably synonymous with toothpaste, right? And people just don't go out there and say, okay, hey, I want to buy a toothpaste, but they'll go out and say they want to buy a Colgate, right? So the trust factor has to be there. And our entire team at Perfora spends a lot of time thinking about trust first and sales second, right? We don't want to be focusing on revenue so early on, but our objective is, we want somebody to trust us and probably even buy a couple of months down the line, and that's absolutely fine. The way we have went about solving for it is through multiple smaller touch points, right? So for example, both Tushar and me as founders, we put ourselves out there on our social media talking about what our products are, who we are as humans, what was our thesis, what was our thought process behind introducing an oral care brand, what are we trying to accomplish, right? When people hear, when a layman or any user or a consumer hears from the founders themselves, they see, okay, this brand is trying to sort of bridge the gap by not getting popular faces, but putting them outside, putting themselves out there and being vulnerable at the same time, right? In fact, one of the very first letters that we had written, and that gained a lot of acceptance from our community. We used to put in a card which said, you are special because you're choosing to make that switch from a traditional oral care brand and trusting a less than a month-old brand with your oral health, and that means the world to us, right? So we used to get a lot of images and pictures from our consumers and customers sharing that, okay, this is such a beautiful and heartfelt note that we've come across from any brand out there. So that's one. Second is, we have tried to humanize the entire process, right? So a lot of consumers today don't know what goes behind brand building, right? Or how do founders think, or, how do brand teams think about different product development, different campaigns, or XYZ things that are involved in the brand building process. We have a very active newsletter which we publish every 14 days, written by a founding team member most of the times, or me personally, where we talk about very transparently what's going on through our heads, right? Sometimes the newsletter talks about the uncertainty that we are feeling in our heads, or the vulnerable, we show the vulnerable side of us, because that's true, right? When you're building an organization, there are so many days which are very low, right? You feel, okay, things are not working out. So we publish that, that this is what is going out, and we'd love to hear from you. What do you think that we can do better, or if you have any suggestions that you can help us out, right? And people have been so kind and grateful that they send out such motivational, encouraging stories, talking about how our brand is making a difference, and that just makes our day. Similar is, the thought process behind on every packaging that we have out there. I've put my personal number so that if someone wants to call up, they can just pick up the phone, WhatsApp me, call me up, and that helps to bridge the gap that a customer is feeling before making that purchase, right? And overall, at a customer success support level, also we spend a lot of time, assuring that even if you buy a toothbrush or a toothpaste or a water flosser or anything for that matter, you have an assured guarantee. If you don't like it, we'll refund you without any questions asked, right? So that's another way to instill trust, because they feel confident, okay, this brand is not going to go away. You can reach them on call, you can reach them on WhatsApp, you can reach them on Instagram DM, and they'll respond within an hour or so. So I think these are small touch points which have really helped us in establishing that trust. And I think there's a long way for us to go, but I think we're able to do that, and we're able to sort of build our dominance in the digital side of the world, because the other incumbent players in the category are not focusing on this personalization, right? The personalized experience overall, I would say.
That's very interesting. Think about little 50 years ago, one way to build trust used to be, and I think it's making a comeback, is people used to put the name on the company itself, like Tata, right? Today we choose names like Facebook and very very different type of names. But when you put your name on the product, or like put that personalization of your number or whatever, you really, customer thinks like, okay, this person is not going anywhere, right? And it's, I think, only human to trust a person versus some sort of a brand or a name that's it's pretty vague, like Facebook or all these names we have these days. That's a very interesting insight, Jatin. Aditya, I think the tagline of Assembly is make a move, right? And what I really liked about what you guys do is instead of focusing on the luggage or the product, you focus on like the experience of it, right? The stories, etc. So sounds like there's more to it here. And I think, I travel a lot, and I'm sure you all travel. Anybody who has traveled a lot, luggages suck. Everything inside it sucks. The accessories, everything needs so much. So much can be done, and I'm sure people are doing it. So Aditya, yeah, walk us through how you think about it. It sounds like you think more about you kind of like position the experience of traveling and being a traveler more than the product. Yeah. Walk us through.
Happy to get into this question, but if I can just also answer the previous question that you asked both panelists, because I also actually learned quite a bit from it. But I think that's a really good question on trust, because what the answer that I was thinking about is it's actually so category specific. So if I could just answer that, what we're finding is building trust. I think, and this is what we're finding is that in our category, the superpower is that the products are seen out there. Right. And we didn't realize this as much when we started, but the more we sell and the more happy customers we have, what ends up happening is somebody spots that, in a metro station, or somebody spots it in an office, or somebody spots it in an airport. And we're seeing a lot of inbound, impact of that compounding because people are seeing it in action, and that validates it in their own mind that, hey, because luggage is not as impulse a purchase, but if you see somebody else rolling it in an airport and it looking good, or it being personalized, we're seeing a lot of goodwill and trust coming out of that, just that it is out there. It's not, that's just a category specific thing, but I just thought I'd add that and share that. Yeah, so on your question of travel experience, absolutely. I think one of the things about traditional businesses is that, if you look at their genesis, they are built on a manufacturing capability. And that's how traditional businesses have been built, that, you invest into manufacturing, and brands get built because because a lot of times that's the expertise you have. And which is why when you look at a lot of luggage brands and incumbents, and they've stayed on top for a generation, 2 generations, and decades because of that expertise that they're having. One of the interesting things about digital is that, and digital brands, is that you're not thinking product first, you're thinking consumer first. So for me, or for us, when we started, we were like, hey, travel is big. It's been, it's a big category. Digital travel, flights, hotels, holiday packages has been, a very strong industry on the internet since day zero. So our audience is travelers, and they're out there, since day zero. So yes, we think of luggage as being at the forefront of a core product that allows people to have a repeated experience with us, that if they're traveling 12 times a year and they like the luggage they're carrying, and therefore they will connect and use the product frequently. But we think, and probably for the short term, you want to really make a dent in one category and be, have very strong expertise in it. But we think of, we think of our audience as travelers, and in future, if there are other adjacent spaces that our travelers are demanding, we do see ourselves, getting into those spaces eventually. So I think the second part of it is that, travel is just such a core theme that has become aspirational over the last 10 years. People are, if you're traveling, you're posting on Instagram, you're talking about your hotel experience, your flight experience. And we find that a lot of times our luggage just becomes very organically part of that imagery. So yes, so, we definitely want to do more of it. Probably, as we grow, we will probably even spread our wings around travel more. But yeah, that's how we think of travel and its connection to luggage.
Aditya, you made 2 very interesting points, so I want to just dig in there. The second point, which is, when you position yourself as a, let's call it, travel experience, you automatically expand your TAM. Like, what are the things you can do in the customer's journey? And then, of course, when you think about it as a business, retention and like repeat sales, like, if you get someone young, and if they're travelers, you will be selling them stuff for the next 30 years. It could be anything from jackets and like easy pants to put your passport, and then of course luggage and stuff. So that's very interesting insight. But I want to actually go back to your first point, which I did not ask you. I think this is a very interesting point you brought up, which is there are certain categories like yours. I think ultra human, if you know that patch thing, is very interesting. That when you have something like your friends, people in the office, or traveler, or even strangers do that thing, people notice. and they ask you like, what is this, right? And some things obviously are natural, like luggage. No one has to ask you what that is, but something like an ultra human will ask you, and then people get into a story, and it's like NPS driven sales, right? People just sell product itself, right?
Yeah.
One of the important things there, I assume, is that it has to look distinctive, right?
Yes.
It has to catch the eye. Walk us through, what does that mean to you? Like how, like so many people in an airport, they all have luggage. How is your luggage from not just functionality, but when a stranger sees it for 5 seconds, it's like, oh, I want to look up this luggage, and I maybe want to take a peek of what this brand says, and then I look at it online. How you thought about it, and what are the insights?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and which is why unique design is so crucial in this category, right? So for instance, one of our backpacks is a hard shell to it, and it's doing really well. And what I find is that, even people who don't see the logo on the product, because it's a hard shell backpack, if they're carrying it at work, they know it's an assembly. So it's really, really crucial in this category to be able to break the clutter through your design. So for instance, multiple things, right? This is a category where, I mean, we've all been at airports. You see the sea of black, boring, bags that are coming on the cruisel one after the other. Very surprisingly, we found that in the first product we launched, which is an overnighter, which is, 1 day overnight travel, we found rust being the best selling color in it, not black, right? And not the other colors. So essentially what it means is that people are just looking for fresh choices, and anything that can break the clutter. It could be through color, it could be through a different material, it could be through a monogram that they see on luggage, which they don't see. If, I mean, one of the cool things about web store sales is that you can personalize. So if somebody's buying my luggage on a marketplace, even there you can't personalize it. But if somebody's buying it from my web store, maybe monogramming is the first step to be able to personalize. But that's quite exciting of what you can do, that if you have control on your supply chain and you have control in your web store and your full stack, there's some very interesting personalization pieces that can come up. So completely. So does that answer your question? Like, so those would be, so maybe functionality doesn't come so much into that, in capturing attention in those 5 seconds, but aesthetics become, the key area. And I think that's working. And that's where the opportunity also lies. So, if luggage is a commodity, you don't really care as much about how it looks because you're traveling twice a year. But if you're traveling 15 times a year, then you're traveling with friends, you're uploading an image on Instagram, the aesthetics become really important. And what we see is that because in this category, Indian manufacturing is weak, a lot of the incumbents have not necessarily put that brand and design layer to this, because they're probably the only people who are guarding the manufacturing side. If they're, if a new player has control over manufacturing, there is this beautiful design, aesthetic design layer that doesn't, a lot of the luggage just looks the same because the same molds that are coming from China and then being manufactured. So I think there's a lot to play with the aesthetics and, and how that comes across and standing out through the clutter.
Makes sense. Yeah. I think there is so much value in that. Like anything that, I think that's where, maybe like a oral care that does not have that opportunity because it's sitting in my bathroom, right? No one comes to my bathroom, but anything in my living room or I wear or travel with is.
Yeah, but every category has its own, right? So I mean, I love the examples that Jatin gave, and I made a mental note that there's so many interesting things you can do to build trust like that. So I think every category has its own nuance. So, you mentioned there are a lot of entrepreneurs here building in different categories. I think you got to find what works for your, and that's why I really like the question, because trust is so category specific in its way of being built.
Exactly. And Aditya, you answered actually a bunch of questions, but I want to go to Rashi and Jatan now on the tactics, right? So, everything is different. So Rashi, on your end, right? I'll just give you one example of at least me as a customer of yours and generally of like things around pets is we have these pet groups on WhatsApp, right? And I think we are part of 3 groups. We live in Bangalore. One is sort of our neighborhood. One is Kaban Park, which is like this park where a lot of people just bring the dogs. And we talk about all sorts of things, right? From sort of like some pet street dog might be not feeling well. Somebody has to take care of them, like feeding dogs. And then of course, your own pets, right? And that's where people ask for recommendations, right? And like all sorts of things start coming up. And, just because it's a group of people who we know sort of a little bit and also know that they care about pets, naturally, be on Instagram or anything else, right? That's my experience as a customer. But yeah, would love to, besides content, what are your tactics, right? To build trust, build a brand, get in front of the customer, differentiate. What are your sort of like guerrilla tactics that you have employed that have worked, that have not worked over the last. Like you started Heads Up for Tails almost 12-ish years ago,
Yes.
right? So you're the OG of what we call D2C right now, but I'm sure this name did not even exist. So real shout out to the OG here. Pretty exciting, and I'm sure you've seen the journey, right? I mean, like something that was like probably a crazy thing, like why would you do that, to like, hey, there's a category called direct to customer, you can talk to the customer. So just want to call out there, but yeah, we'd love to get your tactics. And over these 10, 12, 14 years, I'm sure you've taken a journey. Walk us through what has worked, what has not worked, and so on.
Sure. So I think definitely we've tried lots of different things. Many of them haven't worked at all, but it's been good to experiment and get out there. I think initially when we were building out the category, and we have like over 200 products which are India first, not seen before. So I think at that time, pop-ups played a very important part in getting in front of the customer. So, Christmas exhibitions, Diwali fairs, any time that we could have, small little presents, not so expensive, and have, high footfall areas, just to be able to talk to the customer one-on-one. And, just like Jatin also said, I think being there yourself, talking to customers yourself, I think it does build a lot of trust. So I think we did that a lot in the beginning. Digital came a little bit later when we went on to newsletters and even social. And of course, social plays a very, very powerful role in our journey, because it's really about, you're sharing a message is going to many thousands of people at one time. And so we've been very consistent with our whole social strategy, just getting out there every single day. And then really it was also like, it wasn't a tactic, but really we were forced to do it, like I said. But our stores have played a very important role in our journey because of, just building trust and also helping with product discoverability. So like I said earlier, no one was searching for any of these products. And when we built out our stores, they may come in to buy a bag of food or something very basic, and then discover, oh my gosh, there's actually a whole world of products out there, which is so different from, what we had ever imagined. And so, yes, I think, lots and lots and lots of different formats of events, right? From master classes to, recently we did a dogathon, and, we've done sort of other formats. We recently partnered with Swiggy to do a petting in out. So, lots of people coming in, doggy games and stalls, and just so many different things. And then tie-ups with other vendors and other partners. Absolutely explored absolutely everything I feel that there is too, because I think, you just have to go out there and try everything when you're trying to build a category or build a new brand or introduce a new product, anything to get in front of the customer. And I think that it's so powerful to be able to do that and get that feedback, so much, like I said again, so much of our product is influenced by those conversations of being able to get that feedback back and then take it to the drawing board instantly and say, okay, here's what we need to build, or here's what we need to get better at. And so, yes, I'd love to hear what the others have used as well, and see if I can learn from some of that.
Awesome. Yeah. Jatan, like what is, walk us through like the tactical, like the real brass tacks of yours, how you've created the brand, also the mistakes you may have made. And by the way, one thing I want to just ask is, it sounds like your go-to-market first positioning is teeth whitening. Would that be sort of, that's the anchor, and then around that, everything else?
I wouldn't say that teeth whitening is our go-to-market positioning. Our go-to-market positioning is, functional, elevated oral care, right? And teeth whitening is a sub-positioning of our brand, because we know we're also building oral beauty as a category, as a positioning in the market today. We're probably the leading players in oral beauty as a segment. But coming back to tactics, we've looked at it in a very interesting way, right from so I'll just give you some context, right? When we were starting out last year, we had our digital assets in place, but we didn't have the product, right? The product was still into manufacturing. And as an anxious first-time founder, I was saying, I want that early feedback to come in, despite not having a product in place. And there's a very famous thing that a lot of brands in the US do, where they, do put things on pre-order, right? And we were just starting out. Pre-order was not the norm till about last year, and a lot of brands have started doing pre-orders now. But we sort of launched our brand on a pre-order basis, and then we sort of went back. Today, in the times of Amazon Prime delivery, where you get anything delivered in 24 hours, we were expecting that people would come on our website, place an order for a toothbrush because we launched with an electric toothbrush, and wait for about 15-20 days to get it delivered, right? What is that thing that is going to make them believe in us, right? That was the first question that we asked ourselves before putting the brand out on pre-order, right? We realized, okay, hey, we are going to create that exclusivity in terms of design, in terms of content, in terms of communication, which is going to make people pre-order and wait for about 15 days. But in our head, we still thought this is not strong enough, right? We need something more. We need something that gives them, okay, hey, if I pre-order this today, I'm going to be special. Which is something that's not going to be available later on. So here's a very strong reason why I should pre-order. And that's when we came up with the concept of personalizing the electric toothbrushes, right? So we're the only brand in the country that offers name personalization, or whatever you want to get printed on the toothbrush today. But this started as a beta pilot for a pre-order strategy, that, okay, you pre-order for, if you place an order in the first 15 days when the product is on pre-order, you have a free personalization feature. We're not going to charge you anything. Eventually, we thought it's not going to be scalable from an ops perspective. But then there were so many requests coming in from consumers because they were loving the personalization feature, and that is helping them build an association with our brand. And then we had to bring it back and figure out the entire ops piece. How can we do it at scale? What kind of processes, machinery, human resources do we need to execute this? So I think that was one big win that has really, really worked for us, which gives and that is also the reason why 55% of our business is D2C, right? Because we're able to create that delight when a person orders the toothbrush. Okay, today when a person orders, he or she is not really concerned whether that product is from Perfora or not, right? That's secondary to them. I think what they're really concerned about, this brand offers me an option to get my name printed, or get something printed on it, which is a code that I would want to live by or start my day with, right? Whether that is Carpe Diem or something of that sort, right? So I think that is one. Second thing that didn't really work for us is very early on in our journey, we felt, because like I mentioned, we are very over-indexed on solving for trust. We started offering free dental consultations, right, on the website, which didn't really pick up as much as we thought, because what we realized was consumers were coming to our website to buy our products, and they were not really interested in the consultation, the 15-minute consultation that we were offering, because they felt right now the consumer was not really evolved that I can do a dentist consultation virtually, right? The people who want to consult and people who want to understand more about their dental hygiene, or how could they fix certain pertaining issues that they have with their oral health, would want to make that physical visit to the doctor. And that's why we sort of rolled it back. The idea from our end was very clear. How can we make the transition from someone who's willing to trust a new age oral care brand, right? So I think that didn't work for us. But like Rashi mentioned, we've done pretty much all of it, and I've been very bullish on establishing a personal connect with our consumers out there, by being myself in the flea markets, or the founding team being out there in the flea markets. We are live in a bunch of retail stores here in Gurgaon, where both I and Tushar, my co-founder, we've spent countless hours as sales promoters talking to customers to learn firsthand. People go directly on the oral care island, pick up the Colgate and the Sensodynes of the world, and then we ask them, do you know what goes into it, right? Do you know what are you doing to your oral health? And that is when a conversation starts, and that is how our objective again in the store out there is to just make the consumer aware, because we're confident if the consumer is educated today, he or she will come back and buy us as and when our brand gets bigger. They get more familiarized with our brand, right? So I think these are some of the tactics that we have deployed, apart from the ones that I mentioned, in order to build trust.
Awesome, Jatin. I just have one quick comment here, which is, I think, to the audience, which is, I think one thing that is actually coming out in this conversation is, in the end, there is no one silver bullet, right? So, anything that we are all talking about, it's just frameworks, right? And it has to be applied sort of like based on your category. You have to, use this as a framework to figure out what works for you. That's number one. Second is, it's very clear, even the OGs here, it's not like they started and like, boom, had the idea and like had a brand and then happy life thereafter. It was a lot of trial and error. And what solved the problem was talking to the customer, literally on the ground, talking to the customer day in, day out, and really converting the voice of the customer into product features, and then of course marketing. I think I just want to call it out. Jatin, one example I'll give you on your name thing. I'm sure it happens in so many families. My parents live in Delhi, I live in Bangalore, my brother lives somewhere else, and we go to my parents' house whenever we do. And each time I'm brushing my toothbrush, they was like I put it in my mouth. I was like, "Is this my brother's toothbrush?" I'm just like, shit, we just have this bathroom, and I wish there was my name written, because we have different colors. We obviously remember the colors, but when we go after 2-3 months, there's this one element of like, am I using someone else's toothbrush? And like having names on it will definitely help. Jatin, but one thing one thing you guys do, which I think a lot of D2C brands now do, is really also do things that are more sustainable than not. Which I think a lot of the customers now really care about not only what they consume, but how it impacts the world around them, including the planet. And it seems like what you guys do is you commit to investing 1% of your revenue towards causes around planet. And just walk us through how have you thought about it, and like, does it add to the brand and the appeal to the customer? If yes, how you positioned it other than the product itself?
Sure, Nitya. So I think the genesis of the thought of giving back to the planet or the environment comes very personally to the founders at Perfora, I would say, right? We always felt that two things have to be there. One, whatever we create, the impact has to be large in the lives of consumers. And second, as part of building a for-profit business, we have to give back to the environment and society in the best possible way, right? Because when you run a for-profit venture, there would be certain footprint that you create through certain activities of running the company, which might negatively impact the environment, right? So whether it's carbon emissions, whether it's plastic consumption, or a bunch of other ways, right? So we're very clear that, okay, hey, we want to give back. What is the right way to give back? As a young brand, we know that we don't have a CSR team in place that can go out and do an outreach. So we wanted to sort of do the maximum that was possible at our end in the most structured and streamlined way, right? So we figured out an organization which is one person for the planet, a global organization that was started by Patagonia co-founder and a bunch of other folks. And they wanted to sort of bring together organizations who were trying to give back to the environment through the revenues that they were earning, right? So the way we do it here at Perfora is 1% of our revenue is sort of directed towards organizations that are trying to preserve the environment. So since we completed our 1 full year, and at the end of 1 full year, we're supposed to make that donation, we carefully evaluated the organizations here in India that we felt could resonate with our ethos and our values. And we collaborated with this organization called Reef Watch India, which is into marine life conservation, because a lot of marine life gets disturbed and destroyed through the plastic that is dumped in oceans in India and across the world, right? So that's how we've gone about it. Coming to the brand part of it, I think it really helps to have a conscience to the brand. I think people appreciate that, okay, hey, this brand is thinking slightly larger than money. This brand is thinking slightly larger than one sale. This brand is trying to really create an impact, not only for themselves but I think even at a larger macro level. I think a lot of people who are Perfora customers have come back and talked about, how this is a good initiative, and they want to know more about it. The lag at our end, I think, due to the current scale of the business and the current resources that we have had, that we've not been able to publish impact reports. But I think that is one of the goals that we have set out internally in 22-23 as a financial year, that, okay, hey, in sometime in the mid next year, we're going to publish, what we did with the 1% of the revenue that was contributed to Reef Watch, how how has that donation made world a better place, and how you as a consumer who would have bought, whether that's 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, or maybe 20,000 worth of products from us, how has that contributed to the environment, so that you feel good about it, we feel good about it, and we make world a better place. So it's more about, it's more coming from founders personally, and how we, and the kind of impact that we want to create. Brand is secondary for us in 1% for the planet, but again, this is something that we also want to do at a much larger scale.
Awesome. Perfect. I think we are probably down to our last question. So let's talk about that. And then if there are any questions from the audience, we'll quickly try to take it. One of the common misconceptions I feel with so many entrepreneurs, including D2C entrepreneurs, is that to build a brand, you have to spend a lot of money, right? So you have to go to TV and do these ads and spend crazy amount of money on Facebook, Meta. You have to hire superstars, cricketers, and all that, right? Obviously, a lot of times early stage brands just don't have those resources, right? And therefore, as you may have started your brands, I'm sure you did not spend that much money or much money, because when you talk about talking to a customer, it doesn't spend money. It just requires a lot of thought and just like innovation. Yeah, that'd be awesome to just go through the panel on just like, I'm assuming you would dispel this myth that to create a brand you have to spend the type of money that Hindustan Lever and P&G has to. Would love to get your thoughts, and let's start with Aditya. What are your thoughts on like spending money and how you sort of think about how much money to actually spend versus just like being innovative about building the brand?
Yeah. No, so, I think the reason why you have brands coming up using digital distribution is because you're getting tools to kind of, get to your first several crores or tens of crores of revenue through a distribution channel that's highly performance linked, and, where you're, where you don't have to be, spending a lot to build it. But, I'll take you through our journey and how, we were bootstrapped until a few months back when we actually closed the seed round. But when you're bootstrapped, you're always thinking of using what you have to get ahead, right? So the first port of call for us was, we're in a category where supply is scarce. So marketplaces is a beautiful engine. There's not enough congestion there yet. So it's a beautiful engine to use and create cash flow from it, which gets the business off the ground and where your product market fit gets, really strong, right? So that's the first tactic we would use, where selling on marketplaces is extremely reasonable. You're able to, if you're in the right category and you do it well, you're able to churn a very strong profit out of it, and and get yourself going without necessarily trying to capitalize yourself, from the get-go. And then you have to kind of adapt to what's out there. So if COVID happened and travel was down in the dumps, it felt awkward going and selling luggage, right? So I think at that point of time, we had to make sure that we're selling more daily use products, your backpacks and your laptop bags and your tech accessories, to kind of weather that storm, because there's such an adverse travel environment. Once that is done, then web store, has come, has become a very strong channel for us right now. And I think, part of it is, if you're in a category where the web store is performing well, where it is with us, even there, putting the pieces together, being able to put a Shopify store together, being able to, get your Facebook ads going or your Google ads going, you can be highly performance focused, work in bits and pieces with freelancers, agencies, and over time build the capability in-house. So I think it's a very, you can't do everything together. So I think pick a few things, do them really well. Like, for instance, when you mentioned that a few minutes back earlier on that, do we think about travel? Yes, we do, but we have to be very conscious that, we're not, it's almost like you have to earn the right to get into adjacent categories once you dominate one. So I think pick a few things, do them really well, and kind of respond to what's working. So yes, so, a D2C business, to my mind, does not need the kind of capitalization that a tech company needs. There are routes like marketplaces and other channels that are able to create that momentum. And even to build large businesses, I don't think the level of the capitalization is out of control. It's definitely a very healthy capitalization that works in this category.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Rashi, what is your advice here on how do we be more efficient when building the brand?
Sure. Aditya, I really liked how you answered that, by the way. I think we were also bootstrapped for the first 8 years. Marketing budget was negligible. And I think that digital that way is so powerful. It really gives you access to everything that anyone has. We use the power of digital, and we still continue to do so. Lots of authentic stories on social media, blogs, content, et cetera, to really just go out there, build the trust. We only just started using performance marketing about 3 years ago when we started to build out our online platforms, etc. And so until then, really very, very organic strategy, which worked very well. I think you need to be more creative about what are you putting out there to, again, disrupt just the way that you're thinking about product. You need to think about that content that is going out. How do you break the clutter? Because of course there is so much of it, but really I believe that authenticity always wins. Authenticity and simplicity. Just tell your story the way it is. How can you just speak your truth and use what there is? And really there is a lot that we have, even with very, very little dollars. So I really do believe that, especially when you're in the bootstrapped years and even later, money is precious. Use it very, very wisely, and take the time, like Aditya said, to pick a few things and then go deep once you have done some A/B testing on what is it that's working for you.
Yeah. Rashi, I really love the word like authenticity. I think the key word here, where I think that's I think as a D2C brand, you might be in a category that does not exist or sort of exists, like some Unilever is there. And the wedge is authenticity, right? Because Unilever is Unilever, and they can never be authentic. Like that's your sort of superpower. And while we're there, there's one story I love about this thing is that, as you know, Airbnb hotels, right? When it started, everybody was like, who will use Airbnb? And here we are. There was a sort of like this industry sort of dinner type thing where the CEO of Marriott Hotel, who I think recently passed away, but like this legendary CEO Marriott Hotel for the last 20 years, basically was talking about what they missed. And what he said was, what they missed in the consumer demand was, and vis-a-vis Airbnb and Marriott Hotel, was consumer was looking for, and the word he used was, quote unquote, imperfect authenticity. Meaning a customer, the young person, wants to be in Cairo or Mumbai or Paris, and they're not looking for like this perfect hotel, right? Which is, everything is just perfect. Like you might as well be in Cleveland versus Cairo, right? They want to be in Cairo and they want to be in this whatever city they are in, and they want to experience that. And they're okay with some imperfections because that is part of the experience, of course, as long as it's safe. So I think, authenticity is such an important tool that I think all brands, especially upstarts, can use, especially against incumbents.
Absolutely. I mean, Nitya, if you look at Instagram Reels, right? They're really so big. They're made on a phone, nowhere close to being perfect, just capturing an authentic moment or an authentic place just for what it is, and see how powerful they are. So I really think that just being yourself is so very important. Not trying to be like anyone else. Every one of us has a unique magic, and that's what we need to bring out there to our customers, each and every time that we interact.
Yeah, absolutely. Jatan, any thoughts?
I think both Aditya and Rashi have summarized it really, really well. And pretty much we also try and leverage digital as much as possible. From a percentage of spends, if I were to talk about, we've been very, very digital focused from a marketing standpoint, and we've tried to incorporate a brand building expense from an advertising perspective and a performance marketing expense, because our focus from day zero has been, that we have to create a very, very good brand. And if we don't invest, and if we expect that the brand will be created only on the basis of performance marketing, that's a well, personally, we don't align with that thesis, right? A lot of people do. Unfortunately, we feel brand is something that's intangible and will create and unfold a lot of value in the longer term. So we need to start investing from very early stage. So I think if you was, let's say, spending about 100 rupees on marketing as a spend, we would spend about 40 rupees on brand building and 60 rupees on performance marketing, right? So that people start absorbing who we are, and eventually they will come around and buy from us, not today, not tomorrow, maybe 5 months down the line, maybe a year down the line, right? They might get to see a brand in an offline space, in a flea market, in a mall, or in some form or the other, right? And that is when the transaction might happen. But it's very important to make the consumer realize that what is that brand trying to do, right? And in our case, we're trying to bring out better, more functional, safe products for the consumer so that they have excitement and joy while brushing and having a great time while maintaining their oral hygiene. So I think that's how we have looked at it. And again, it's primarily being through all digital modes.
Awesome. Well, we have some questions here, but I also know we are running on the hour. So apologies for asking so many questions. This is I have like 10 more questions, but I think what we can do is if Aditya, Rashi, and Jatan, you guys have maybe 5 more minutes, we can just go with one question. Is that okay? Or yeah.
I apologize. I have to log off. But I just wanted to say a big thank you. If there's anything I can answer, I'd be happy to take it offline.
Perfect. Yeah, we will have an offline question and answer thing, and maybe you can help just type something out. Rashi, pleasure meeting you and having you on this.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Perfect.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jatan, do you have a minute?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, perfect. So let's just take one question and then we will circulate a sort of like a list of questions. And perhaps Jatan, both you and Aditya can answer it on your this thing. The first question, and I think I'll summarize the question. The question is, a lot of this is about getting a customer from a business point of view and retaining them for a lifetime, right? So oral care clearly is one thing, like I would need to brush my teeth and take care of stuff, probably more as I age, right? And probably, the things that people do when they're younger is less, and then as they get older. Same with Aditya, travel, right? I mean, people start traveling as they have some disposable income, and then as they have jobs, they do more of it, right? So there is 30-year type, 40-year type life cycles to it. How, let's start with Jatan. How do you think about this strategy, right? Just tactically, what is your entry point? And then how do you kind of get the customer hooked onto your other products?
Sure. So I think the fundamental difference in our thinking is around, we don't look at a customer, but we look at a household, right? Because oral care is something that's used by all the members in a household. So even if you get one customer from a specific household, our objective is not only to sell more products in the near term or in the longer term to the same customer, but how can we drive transition from that one member to other members in the same household? And that is when the unit economics of the business start making sense. That is one. Second, I think coming to the entry point for us, mostly the entry point is considering that we're building a digital first or digitally native business. The first order value has to make sense, right? Because so that our unit economics are not in red big time, right? Of course, we are a loss-making business, but we have to look at what is the path to profitability and how are we going to get there. So our focus is to sell a toothbrush in the very first go, because toothbrush is something that is also going to stay with you longer, right? And the more you brush with us, the stronger the brand gets built, because it's an everyday use product. The second product that comes in and which can be utilized across the household is a toothpaste or a mouthwash, because as you would have seen in your lives, is that you usually hop into someone else's washroom in the same household and you try and get toothpaste if you find it interesting enough, right? So that is what leads to transition. If your toothpaste is great, if the flavor is great, if it does the job of what it is supposed to do, and then we try and solve for there's a section within the company that's actively trying to solve for whitening as a concern, because it is untapped, right? We've all tried to solve for our hair, our skin, our bodies, our mental well-being, but unfortunately we haven't solved for whitening. So we feel this is a large untapped category, and someone who's a big coffee consumer, someone who's a big wine consumer, we try and capture that data through our post-sales mechanism that we have in place, right? Okay, if he or she is a coffee consumer or a tea consumer or a wine consumer, how can we very innovatively tell them to try our teeth whitening product? And that is when the LTV starts making sense, because once you start a teeth whitening product, you want to use it for a longer duration to see the results come in, right? Because this is peroxide free, zero sensitivity teeth whitening. So I think that's how we've gone about it. I'm not sure if I was able to
Makes sense. Yeah.
Holistically answer everything.
I'm both a coffee and wine consumer, so I'm just going to go to the bathroom and check out my teeth, how they are or not. Aditya, any of your thoughts? And I think after that we have to probably wrap up.
Yeah, no, sure. So, for us, hard luggage is the core, product that we want to build an experience around. That's our strength. That's what we feel, stays with the customer for a long period of time. I think one of the, positive attributes of hard luggage is the AOV is high. So what ends up happening is it's important for us to be able to, be first transaction positive with the, with our hero product, and make sure that, we're putting the best foot forward, especially in performance marketing where ads can get expensive. And then, actually what happens is that this is a category where, the same product being upgraded is not as frequent, but it's a lot of opportunity to cross-sell. So you take it, piece at a time where, first you go with the luggage, then you try and cross-sell maybe a backpack, a laptop bag, or a tech kit, and probably get those flows working. But at the same time, then, your next step is that, okay, how do you use your flows and your retention? You focus more on your abandoned cart flows, your browser abandonment flows, your welcome flows to get that first transaction going. Before, you look at other, cross-selling flows. And then the next step is, how do you widen your product range to a point where you can cross-sell a lot more and, have a positive experience more frequently. I think one of the other interesting things we do is, we try bundling products. So one of the things with luggage is people buy set of 2 and set of 3 luggages in one go. So we feel that when we do that, it gives us an ability to play more, it gives you more cushion with the CAC, because suddenly your AOV becomes close to what a mattress like AOV is, right? And then, a lot of people will buy a backpack with the luggage. So I think these are a few tactics we'd use where, it's not just putting an ad in front, but, and that is important, but how are you using the different retention conversion variables and the tools that you have to be able to extract as much value from that particular customer?
Got it. Well, that was awesome. Jatan, Aditya, Rashi, thanks so much for taking time. I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else did. Upasana, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really, this was awesome learning, even for people who are not doing what this is, but this is learning. I think that can be taken for life as well. But wonderful. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Jatan, Aditya. And I think we've had Rashi leave a little early. She had an investor's call. But thank you both. And thank you so much for Nitya for moderating it so tightly and so well. Questions, of course, like you said, wouldn't end, but this is just wonderful. Folks, we'll be in touch. And if any of you who've joined us today have any questions, please drop us a mail. We will have you connected with the speakers or answered by the speakers, whichever way it works. Thank you very much for joining us. See you again next month for the next session. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Bye.
Bye.